This is Attas from Blighty, and I have to say, it's absolute joy to listen to Moustache and Blade.
Welcome to the Moustache and Blade Podcast, a show dedicated to all things facial fur and traditional wet shaving in an effort to create global facial awareness. And now, here are your hosts, Douglas Smythe and Ryan Stephen Green.
Hello again, folks. This is Douglas Smythe from howtogrowmustache.com, and
I'm Ryan Stephen Green.
And we are back with another episode of Moustache and Blade, episode 14. Today's show is brought to you by howtogrowmustachestore.com, where you can find, well, my newest. It's called Gondolier.
A gondoliere.
This, my friends, is something else. It's a whole line, in fact. Not only is it in Synergy shaving soap format, it's also a deodorant, an aftershave lotion, and an aftershave splash. I highly recommend that you check this one out. I think I nailed it. This is a classic old world Italian blend of manliness. So, pick some up today and keep your significant other interested in only you. That's howtogrowmustachestore.com. Please check it out, and thank you. If you have any questions for Ryan or myself, you can reach us at douglas@mustacheandblade.com or ryan@mustacheandblade.com. We also encourage you to leave a voicemail for us sometime, letting us know how you feel. Tips, suggestions, whatever. If you have a question in regards to wet shaving or facial fur, even better. And we will possibly play that question and answer it on air in the future. You can reach us at 347-333-1511. Outside of the United States, that number is 001-347-333-1511. Also, if you are in front of your computer right now, we beg of you, go to mustacheandblade.com, which will bring you to a pre-populated tweet. You just need to hit send, and this will get the word out that you are listening to your favorite wet shaving podcast, Moustache and Blade. And one more thing in regards to questions for us. We actually are bringing in a new segment to the show called The Shaving Doctor, or Dr. Shave. We really don't have a name for this segment yet, but Matt Pisarcik from the Razor Emporium will be our shave doctor, and he will answer your questions. So if you have any questions in regards to revamping or repairing your razor or cleaning your razor, once you get it, and you check the forums and you really can't find an answer, we've got your man, people. So, again, leave that message or question for him at 347-333-1511, and that's 001 first, outside of the country being the United States of America. Okay, so here we are. Episode 14. Today we'll be interviewing Matt Pisarcik from the Razor Emporium. And if you don't know about the Razor Emporium, you just don't know about the Razor Emporium, and you should. If you're into getting your razor, your vintage razor, revamped, replated, whatever the case may be, you need to go to razoremporium.com and check out what Matt and Tiff have cooking over there. They've been in this biz for a little while now, and they've done one hell of a job when it comes to breathing new life back into your beloved vintage razor. So check them out today, and we'll be getting to that interview very soon. But first, let's visit with, well, me, with another Shower Shaver review. Onward! Why, hello, and welcome back to another Shower Shaver review with Douglas Smythe. It's funny because I've strayed so far away from the formula of this segment. This is not really going to be a Shower Shave review. In fact, there'll be no review at all. So I should probably look to changing the title of this segment for future episodes. But until then, what we got going on today, people, is we're going to be making our own Bay Rum aftershave.
Yo ho ho!
So come and join me. Roll up your sleeves and let's get to work on this. What you will need: one clean and dry mason jar, some coffee filters. You can choose to use the paper ones. If you had a cone that they could sit in, that'd be great. Or you could use a funnel. Or you could use, as I do, a plastic fine mesh reusable coffee filter. I find this works really well, and I can walk away from it and let the filtering happen on its own. I can also use a chopstick or a spoon to stir up the organic matter that will settle at the bottom of the filter and sometimes clog it. So, you have some options there. You will also need some rum, fittingly enough. Choose a nice rum. quality rum. Maybe that rum someone brought you back from the islands. That's the rum you want to use. Next, you will need some witch hazel. You can choose to use an alcohol-based witch hazel or an alcohol-free one. I used Thayer's alcohol-free witch hazel. I'm a huge fan of that stuff. It's great. You will also need some glycerin. A lot of us have this kicking around. We like to add it to our shaving soap to create a super lather. Or we just have some kicking around to, I don't know, just to say that we have glycerin. You will be needing 1 ounce of that. Then you will need 15 bay leaves. And I'm not talking about the stuff you will find in your seasoning cupboard. That would be a different bay leaf. That would be the bay laurel. If you use that bay leaf, you will end up smelling like an Italian dish.
A gondoliere.
Which is not what we're going for here. What we are going for is smelling like a pirate, okay? As we all want to, secretly.
Jolly Roger!
Next, we will be using some allspice berries. That will hopefully be in your cupboard. Then some dried or fresh ginger, a cinnamon stick, and 2 vanilla beans. You don't have to use the vanilla beans. I recommend you do. You could actually use some vanilla extract, but make sure it's 100% pure and not that synthetic stuff. Or the fake stuff. You know what I'm talking about. Artificial is what they call it on the shelf. Steer clear of that. Okay, now we have what we need. And I might mention at this point, you won't need to be writing any of this down or rewinding because I've made this really easy for you. There will be a link in my show notes, but you can also visit howtomakebayrumaftershave.com, which will bring you right to my page, which will include a video tutorial walking you through all the steps. So I know how this can be a little abstract, listening to just the audio, but bear with me, people. So we've got all the ingredients laid out before us. Now there's 1 or 2 ways we can do this. Some people like to go the extra mile. Some of those people are a little impatient, and let me explain. You could mix all of these ingredients into a blender or a food processor and give it a quick couple of buzzes, a quick couple pulses before you add it to the jar, where it'll be tightly shut and stowed away for 6 to 8 weeks. By doing this, it'll speed up the maturing time. But what I'm going to walk you through today is the good old-fashioned way that involves a little patience. And if I haven't already mentioned, this is a very fun activity. If you have any kids of your own, you might want to bring them on board for this one. Everyone needs an assistant.
Yay!
Let's begin. Break out the mason jar. Open it up. Drop in the leaves. Again, you are using 15 bay leaves, pimenta racemosa. That's pimenta racemosa. And pimenta racemosa is much different than bay laurel, which is in your seasoning cabinet. They are from St. Thomas or some other West Indian island, and those are the classic bay leaves, the bay rum leaves. This is what gives you that rich body bay rum piratey scent. Bay rum is such an interesting thing. It's quite possibly the first cologne or aftershave that we were using back in the day. So it has a really strong history. So that's what we're aiming for. As I digress away from this, we're going to be adding these leaves first. 15. Break them up, crush them up, toss them in the jar. By breaking them, you could put them in whole, but again, we want to make this a quick maturing process. And we want to make it really a really strong blend. So by crushing and breaking them up, we're making it easier for the oils to be released into the alcohol, into the tincture. So break them up, throw them in the jar. Now we'll be adding the rum. You need to measure out 4 ounces of rum, a high quality rum. Doesn't need to be high quality if you can't part with that. But we're going for the gold here. So a high quality rum, then 8 ounces of witch hazel. You can choose to use an alcohol-based witch hazel or an alcohol-free witch hazel, which I've used. And then, now this is optional, you can add 1 ounce of rose water. I don't think I covered this in the ingredient list, but I chose to use rose water. I feel it gives a full body to the eventual aroma we're going for. So it's also, I really like the effects of rose water on my skin. That's 1 ounce of rose water, completely optional. And now 1 ounce of glycerin, not optional. Definitely put this in there. Your skin will thank you. 1 cinnamon stick. Break this a couple times. Well, break it once, but just break it before you put it in there. If you can crush it with a mortar and pestle, all the better. Drop that in there. Then 2 vanilla beans. Break them up, fold them in half, stick them in the jar. If you are using pure vanilla extract, just add a capful of it. Next, 1 teaspoon of ginger. And this is either fresh or dried powdered ginger. Powdered ginger is a little bit stronger than its fresh counterpart. So if you have sensitive skin, go lightly with this one. Next, fresh or dry orange zest. You can have your assistant scrape some of this up for you if you trust them with a grater. If not, go for the dry stuff just as well. Then we move on to the 1 tablespoon of allspice berries. These 2 will need to be crushed. I recommend a mortar and pestle. If you do not have one, wrap them in a cloth bandana and smash them with a hammer or the bottom of a pot. So crush those up good, drop them in the jar. Okay, now we have it. And again, we're using the jar. You could have been doing this in a blender. And if you did, just 1 or 2 pulses. And then pour this concoction into a jar. Replace the lid tightly. Then pass it to your assistant. If you're without an assistant, boo. What fun is that? But if you are without an assistant, shake it yourself. And shake it well. For at least a minute. If you can go for 5, that's great. What you're doing is mixing and blending all the oils and seasonings around. And that's what we want to do. In fact, we're going to want to do this every day. You're going to need to, I'm jumping ahead, but you're going to need to shake up this concoction for at least 1 minute every day in order for it to be a balanced infusion. Now we're going to need to store it in a cool, dark place. Before we do that, take a Sharpie and write the date on the top of the lid or on a piece of paper and tape it to the jar, because this is going to need to sit for 6 to 8 weeks. Now, I know, like some of you, you're thinking, yeah, 6? Who's going to wait 8? If I can wait 6 to 8, I'm going to go for 6. Again, the longer you let this sit, the more the scent matures, and you get this full-bodied bay rum smell that you're going to thank me for waiting later. So we find a cool, dark place. Don't confuse what I'm saying, folks. I know the refrigerator is a cool, dark place, but it's the wrong cool, dark place. It's too cool, much like myself. So find a cupboard that you can put this in. I recommend finding a cupboard that you open up every day so that you're going to see the jar and remember to shake it up. I put this in my cereal cupboard because I've been known to eat cereal every day. Another way to get around remembering this is just on a little Post-it, a sticky note. Write something that you will understand means shake the jar every day. In fact, you might want to choose those words. Shake the jar. Stick that on the mirror that you shave in every day, and you will remember to shake that jar. If you miss a day or two, it's fine, but you really want to kind of stick with this regimen of shaking it at least for a minute every day. Okay, so you found your cool, dark place. If you have to, you can leave it under the sink in the bathroom. However, the temperature in there fluctuates with the more people you live with. 2 or 3 showers a day, the temperature's going up and down. It's not going to be bad for it, but it's not going to speed up the process either. So, cool, dark place, and wait, which I am told the hardest part. So get on with your life for the next 6 to 8 weeks. And that will bring us probably to spring, and that's why I'm doing this tutorial now. I want all you gents out there to be ready for the spring, into summer. This is going to yield so much bay rum. It'll probably take you to September to use. So you're welcome. After 6 to 8 weeks, it's time to strain our concoction. What you're going to need, as I mentioned before, is a coffee filter. With your coffee filter, on top of a 2-cup measuring cup, rest it up there, or you may be holding this if you're just using a paper filter. I don't recommend this method because it is good to have 1 hand or 2 hands free so you can stir it if there's any blockage of the filter by the organic matter. But if that's all you got, that's all you got. I just don't recommend that you squeeze it at the end. You'll be tempted to squeeze out the rest of the remaining juice. Don't do that. You're really asking for it when you do. The filter a lot of the time will rip and tear, and you'll have to end up filtering it all over again. So, if you can find a freestanding filter, as I mentioned in the beginning, do so. Put that on top of the cup and pour your bay rum into it, organic matter and all. Now that it's freestanding, you can walk away and do other things, because sometimes it's going to take a little while to filter through. And if you see that it's stopped filtering and there's still liquid in the cup, you know what to do. Stir it with a chopstick or a spoon, whatever. Get it flowing through that filter again. You're going to need to filter this 2, 3, 4 times. It really depends. You want it to be free of all organic matter. And once it is, you will now be pouring it into a fresh mason jar. Could be the same mason jar. Just make sure that you clean it and dry it well first. At this point, you can now add, if you so choose to, 30 drops of neem. I really like what neem does to my skin and for my skin. I highly recommend that in the concoction, but the choice is up to you. You can also choose to prolong its life to add 12 to 20 drops of grapeseed extract. You could go a little bit lighter, but that or vitamin E will prolong the life of your Bay Rum. Vitamin E you can find in a jar. I believe the company Jason makes one. It's kind of pricey. So if you have any vitamin E supplements on the shelf, the gel ones, take a pin, pierce it, or just bite it like I do, and squeeze that vitamin E in there. Now replace the lid tightly and shake it up. Now you don't need to shake this up every day anymore. You've got your Bay Rum. Keep this stored in a cool, dry place. Now you can keep under the sink in the bathroom. It's okay. We're not waiting for it to mature anymore. If anything, we want to retard this, especially if we like where we're at. So keeping it in a bathroom which fluctuates in temperature is okay. But take a whiff of that. You have some genuine Bay Rum aftershave of your own making. Now you don't have to stick with my recipe, but you can use it as a guide. You can add your own seasonings and spices, maybe black pepper, whatever you want to add more of to this. Another thing you could do is, instead of creating an infusion like we did to speed up the process even more, is you could actually purchase Bay essential oil and add about 20 drops of that, maybe a little more, to the mix. That's a quick way of doing it. Again, I think the infusion method is better. It's more of a traditional form of making the Bay Rum, which is, again, can be a lot of fun as a Saturday morning or afternoon activity with the kids. So please, I'd love to hear how this turned out for you. And once more, for the video tutorial, visit howtomakebayrumaftershave.com. I hope this has been highly entertaining, educational, and inspiring for you all. Now get out there and make me proud. I'll see you next week with another shower I might change the name of this segment, but with my next segment next week. Ciao, folks.
All right, boys and girls, it's that time again for WSA. Yeah! Wet shaving acronyms. Are you ready for today's batch? Here we go. LH. Long handle. I got nothing. Moving right along. LTT. LTT. Looking to trade. We've got FT, for trade, and we've got LTT, looking to trade. PA, pass around. Actually, you know what? PA, where I come from, PA has an entirely different meaning. And what I'm referring to specifically is the film industry. In the film industry, on a set, on a working set, you have PAs. This stands for production assistant, but they're commonly referred to as PAs. You may have one, you may have several PAs running around, making the coffee, picking up extra stuff that we forgot, and generally helping out in any way that is needed. PAs. But in the wet shaving world, PA stands for pass around. A pass around is when one or multiple members of a forum or group purchase a soap, razor, brush, etc., and then pass it around to all participating. A sign-up is created for all who want to try the product. The list should include names and shipping address. When a member is done with the product, he or she then ships it to the next person on the list. Artisans and vendors sometimes donate to the cause. PA, pass around. PIF, pay it forward. I think that's a movie title. Paying it forward means giving away shaving equipment to noobs, like me. Some may call this a kickdown. PIF can be used as a noun or a verb. PIF, pay it forward. Moving right along, NDC, no date code. NDC is not a major television network. That would be NBC. NIB, new in box. NOS, new old stock. Now, NOS has a special meaning to yours truly because, as you've probably heard on a previous podcast, I drive a 1967 Volkswagen Squareback. And I also made a movie about the Volkswagen subculture in the United States. It's called Circle the Wagon. You've probably heard me say that again. Now, within the vintage Volkswagen community, NOS is a term that is used with frequency. NOS meaning the same as it does in the wet shaving world, new old stock. These are items that are old. They were manufactured decades ago, and yet history has blessed us today with the fact that they are unopened. They're still in their original packaging, having never been used. So in that way, they're new, but their date of manufacture would indicate that they are old. This is new old stock. So on my squareback, I actually have an NOS muffler. It's a muffler that was passed down through the years, brand new, never used, and is now on my 67 squareback. Her name is Wendy, by the way. I probably haven't mentioned that. And next we have OC, open comb. That one sounds a little bit funny too. OC, open comb. Surely long comb, the dread pirate long comb, used an OC, an open comb. Thus concludes today's batch of wet shaving acronyms. Thanks for listening.
Ship ahoy! Ha ha!
On to the show.
Okay, and now we'd like to welcome Matt Pisarcik to the show. Matt of RazorEmporium.com. How the hell are you, Matt?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Great, man. Good to be with you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, so much has been going on at your site, I've noticed. Tell us what's new.
Well, I started the company back in 2009, and I started with a friend, and that relationship with him has kind of changed, and now I've moved to be the sole owner of the company. And I knew that I needed to kind of symbolize that change with kind of a visual change, and there's already was a lot of emphasis on changing our website. So I figured, let's just change the website, let's change our branding, let's change our logo, let's change the way we do things. So I've really been calling this the new Razor Emporium, and it's kind of a symbol of the rebirth and everything I want to do with this. I also, earlier this year, I left my day job, so this is now my full-time commitment to doing this.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, thank you. So I worked for 5 years in the healthcare industry as a marketing director for a hospital, and all that marketing really showed me what I could do with my own business. That was really just an after-hours project, and now it's my career, and it's my life, and it's my love and my passion.
Ah, excellent, man. That's so good to hear.
Yeah.
Wow, that's contrast, too, from one to the other, eh?
Oh, yeah. Very, very big contrast.
Is there I had this impression before, but is there some sort of an overlap between the health industry and I guess the shaving industry or shaving goods? It seems like there must be some sort of overlap there, whether in manufacture or I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of customers that are in the healthcare industry. It's funny. I have a lot of doctors, anesthesiologists, surgeons, cardiologists, nurses, male nurses, radiologist technicians. All sorts of people, but yeah, I think there's a fascination with taking care of your body and taking care of your face and wanting to improve the way you do things. It has a perfect tie-in with healthcare.
No, it's interesting. What I was going to mention, or what I've noticed, is a lot of the manufacturers, people that manufacture razors, modern razors, that is, other parts of their business, they're manufacturing surgical tools and everything. So there's that correlation as well.
It's funny you say that. Feather is the first person that comes to mind. Feather blades.
Right.
They make a lot of scalpels.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I actually have an old Gillette blade that's like a replaceable blade. They were trying to make surgical tools. And so even Gillette back in the 20s was trying to do this crossover because they're already doing knives and cutlery.
Exactly.
And there's actually people that collect exclusively non-shaving Gillette items. I literally know a few collectors that they don't collect the razors, the toggles, the fat boys. They actually want these weird office knives and surgical blades and podiatrist knives. It's like a whole subculture.
It's so Dexter.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's the other thing of just, watching some of your videos and taking the batch of razors out of the vat of cleaning material and like wrapping it in plastic and stuff like that. It just reminded me of going to the dentist. And they have all their utensils set out there and they're all been sterilized and like wrapped individually and stuff like that. And I was like, man, I'm like a professional when it comes to shaving my own face,
Yeah, no, it's so funny you say that. I was just telling one of my guys who works here with me, I just said, we really need to go raid like an old dental office or orthodontist.
Orthodontist, yeah.
Yeah, I really need to raid one of those old offices or find a closeout on Craigslist because all those little tools would be so amazing to use here.
Definitely. The little picks and whatnot to get right in the crooks and crevices.
Yeah.
That's a really good call.
What are your tools of the trade? What are the most common little things you use in your trade?
The biggest one are really just jeweler's pliers. So when you're working on razors, you want to be able to make mechanical adjustments, but you don't want to damage the plating or make a scratch or a nick. So you can pick up jeweler's pliers on eBay or at a supply store online, and they just have nylon tips on them. It's metal with nylon, and so you can sit there and adjust a guard or blade gap or whatever and not make any a ding or dent. But honestly, besides jeweler's pliers, I've actually made most of my own tools. I've made little devices to get into nooks and crannies, to take razors apart. I've made all of my own tools.
That is very cool.
Way cool. Matt has a business called the Razor Emporium, as you're well aware at this point in the episode. But Matt has a full beard. Explain, Matt, please.
It's very well shaped,
well
might I add.
I will say that.
All right, here's the story. I was growing my very first beard while at the hospital as a dare. Someone said, I heard this whole Movember thing. Someone said, oh, you got to do No Shave November. And I'm like, what is this? This was back in like 2009, 2010. And so I did it. And I liked the beard so much, I just kind of kept it for until January. And then all of a sudden, I met my wife actually through the hospital. She came in as a saleswoman, and she came in my office, and we kind of hit it off. And maybe it was unprofessional, but I actually ended up asking her out on a date. And now we're married. But she met me with a beard, and she's always loved the beard. And I've had it on or off. And in fact, I'm probably going to be trimming it down to a goatee here in about a week or two. But it's just kind of stuck.
We hear that story, strangely enough, a lot on this show, I think. I think Brad Maggard was going through the same thing. Or maybe that's his wife wouldn't let him grow a mustache. I don't know. These stories didn't blend together. But yeah, a lot of the guys in the wet shaving world on the vendor end seem to have a lot of facial hair for wet shaving vendors.
I know. And you get the, especially when I go out picking, when I'm out antiquing or whatever, and I tell them I'm looking for razors, and they're like, well, you look like you could have a shave yourself.
Yeah, that's great. No, it's like the How to Grow a Mustache brand in wet shaving. People, well, I don't understand how that, it's like, no, you do need to shave to maintain a mustache.
You do.
I mean, you're thinking of a beard, my friend, but
right. I actually think it takes more work. I mean, you guys with the mustaches, you guys have waxes and pastes, and you have special trimmers, and you have all sorts of accessories. So it's actually much more of a commitment.
I agree.
For such a small item, a mustache is an inordinately needy object, I guess.
It's like having a pet or a child. Wings of Mercury.
My wings of Mercury, yes.
Yeah.
So, Matt, we have a lot of new folks listening to the show, tuning in every day, and new to our show as well as new to wet shaving. I guess I didn't give you a thorough introduction, or just, I didn't allow you, rather, to give a thorough introduction when we began this interview. Let's talk about the Razor Emporium. What is the Razor Emporium doing? What are you all about over there?
So, I as you guys probably saw, we released a new promotional video yesterday, and it was kind of my first stab at doing a mini little biography. That I got started into this because I actually had trouble shaving. I used to use a cartridge, and it tore up my neck, and I asked my dad, Dad, what do you use? I was all of maybe 20. I was in college, 21.
No kidding.
And my dad's like, I use electric. I use Braun. I've always used Braun. And so I'm sitting here trying to figure it out. He doesn't know. He doesn't have any advice for me. The forums, this was circa 2006, 2005. So there was not really any forums out there. There was Shave My Face, and that was about it.
All right.
You guys remember ShaveMyFace.com?
Yep. They still on the website, I think.
Yep. And so I'm sitting and I'm reading online, and I find this awesome MSN article with that Corey Greenberg or whatever, the tech consultant.
Mr. Fine.
Yep. And I found that article. I think we all found that article. We all saw the Today Show promotional when he was on there talking about, Merkur razors. And then he's talking about the vintage razors. And I was like, hey, I can find one of these. I don't want to have to order a $35 Merkur razor just to try out this new way of shaving. Let me go see if I can do something different. So I ended up actually going out to an antique store. and I picked my very first set of razors, and it was a bunch of vintage Gillettes. So I got a red tip, I got a fat boy, I got a big fellow. I mean, again, this is 2005. There were razors everywhere to be found.
Yeah.
Before you knew it, I'm collecting them. I'm fixing them up. I have always been kind of into mechanical things. I've always done kind of restoration of different things, you know, a lot of woodworking, a lot of metalworking. And so before you know it, I'm collecting them. I'm selling them to my friends, giving them away to my family. And before you know it, I kind of just started a business. And I first started selling through Badger and Blade and eBay and other websites. And, you know, people don't really want you selling a bunch of stuff on their websites. They want you to be just kind of hanging out there and chatting. So I just made my own site, and the rest is history. The Emporium now has 3 employees, including, and I guess one to be me, so 4 people working here total, including an in-house Honemeister now. And it's just growing. We just moved out of the house. I had the house running the business inside my house for about the first 4 years. And just in September of this year, I decided, you know what? I'm going mainstream. I'm going all the way. So we got this facility here. It's a 1,400 square foot workshop and office.
Wow.
And built out a big workshop to do all of our restoration. And now we have an office. We're meeting with customers. In fact, a customer just walked in. Burris is helping this gentleman out, I think. Hi there. How's it going?
He should make a cameo. Have him make a cameo.
Oh, you want to come say hi?
Say hi to Moustache and Blade.
You want to come say hi on the podcast? Come on in. Hi, how's it going? You just look right into this camera right there. That's you right there.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
What's your name, sir?
Chris Agenian.
Chris Agenian. Hey, have you listened to the Moustache and Blade podcast yet?
I have not, no.
Oh, get off the camera.
All right.
Joking. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's kind of now just grown to be its own thing, and it's really exciting. I'm actually trying to lead the way to get Phoenix Market really fired up about wet shaving. We're now hosting an event here called Third Thursdays at Razor Emporium, and we promote it through Facebook, and people can come hang out. We get some microbrewed beer going. We got some snacks, just a time and place to meet up. There's no charge. There's no fee. There's no sales. It's just about hanging out. And I'm doing different lecture series about lather building, angle and pressure, stropping, whatever subject you want me to talk about, I'll do a lecture on. And we're now starting to have people stop by and hang out here at the Emporium.
Really cool. Beer and blades.
Yep, beer and blade. There you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, that's like that might be a dangerous combination.
No, man. 2 great tastes that taste great together.
I think we've all shaved once or twice a little bit buzzed. I think we all have.
No comment.
Not this one. Not this one.
I know I have. I know I was in Vegas for some convention and I had my straight razor, and let's just say that you got to do it sober.
Yeah.
This is the thing. It's because I like beer as much as the next guy, but beer has a different place in my life than does shaving. I don't drink a cold one. I don't put down a cold one at the beginning of the day to get ready for the work ahead. I do go into the bathroom and shave my face and feel all good for the work ahead. But then beer is kind of a wind down thing. It's kind of like I don't shave to wind down, and I don't drink to like get my day started or something. They're like 2 different spheres. That's me. One humble man's opinion.
No, I hear you.
You're a prude. Nothing like a hot shower, a cold beer, and a shave.
There we go. Everything in its right place, you know?
Good God. It's great that we have you on the show, and you're telling us that you're doing tutorials and whatnot. What do you have for us right now, Matt? Someone who's just getting into maybe straight razor shaving. Let's talk about honing. Any tips there?
Honing, I always tell customers that honing is definitely more of a art than it is a science. And I always tell people if they want to take a stab at it, I definitely can help pick out your first set of stones for you and, give you some advice. But most times people want to just use the strop, and that's about it. I mean, I'm a fan of people using different pastes and different additives they can put on their strop. But honing's really tough. It takes, like, even our Honemeister right now, I mean, he's got, he worked with me in another company that I had, and he's been sharpening knives and was in the Navy for 13 years, and he's sharpened hundreds and hundreds of knives. He's probably got about 300 or 400 straight razors under his belt. And even at that, after sharpening 300 or 400 straight razors, he's still a greenhorn. He's still a newbie.
Yeah.
I mean, Honemeisters like Lynn Abrams or Leighton, who's actually who's overseen a lot of this. I haven't even told you guys about that. I'll tell you in a second. These guys have got 10,000 razors under their belt, and they're now just becoming a true Hohenmeister. And in fact, so this guy, Leighton, I just mentioned, Leighton is the owner of Wet Shaving Products, the brushes. I'm not sure if you guys have seen those brushes out there, but Leighton is local in Scottsdale, Arizona. And so he's actually works out of our building as well now. And he not only has a brush company, but he's been a Hohenmeister for over a decade. And so he's actually been training our Hohenmeister, Brandon. But we were talking just today. He was in my office about an hour ago. He's here right now sharpening as we speak. And he said, Matt, what it really comes down to it, honing is all about knowing what stone to go for at what state of the razor. It's just that intuition, and you can't teach that. You can't teach someone,
right?
Oh, well, if it starts to feel wiry, you should grab the 5K Nanawa.
Yeah, no doubt. I guess honing was probably a poor question to ask on the newbie's behalf. But, you read it over and over again in the forums, these guys just destroying their vintage straight razors by attempting to hone. So there really is, I guess that's just solid advice right there. Go to the Hohenmeister.
Exactly.
But now, Ryan, what's your, do you have any issues with stropping right now? Do you have any stropping questions for Matt?
Stropping.
I just noticed in one of your newbie notes, there was a mention of that. And I thought, well, we got him on the horn.
I could launch into it. I'm getting a whole education on straight razor shaving right now. I don't know how much you want to hear about it.
What tips do you have? Man,
yeah, hit me with it, whatever you got. It's literally, I'm right in the thick of it right now. I've only been straight razor shaving and just my sideburns at this point, at the suggestion of Lynn Abrams. Anyway, I'm right in the thick of my education. So whatever you got, I'll soak up like a sponge. I can promise you that.
He will.
I think the hardest thing for most people when it comes to stropping a straight razor is learning, number one, to not roll your edge, to roll on the spine of the straight razor and not across your edge. I constantly see people doing that, and it's so simple, but man, that makes the biggest difference. I had a customer that came in here about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he just bought a brand new Dovo or whatever. He paid to have it, sharpened. And he's like, Matt, it's not sharp. I want you guys to sharpen it. And I'm like, well, how many shaves have you done with it? And he says, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3. I'm like, sir, that, no offense, but that razor should be plenty sharp after only 2 or 3 shaves. And we started talking about, show me what you're doing. So we have a strop right here in the shop, and he's demonstrating. And within the first stroke, I catch that. And I'm like, sir, you just realized you nicked your entire edge across the leather. And now not only is your leather damaged, your edge is now damaged. That's why, it's what you're doing. So number one, always roll the razor on the spine and not across the edge.
Well, I'm just curious because, how delicate is that edge once it's been honed? Literally leather will damage it, or does it just bend those little micro teeth out of shape, or what's happening?
I got a piece of paper here, right? Ordinary piece of paper. Can you guys see that?
I can see that.
So the edge of a straight razor is finer than human hair, okay? We use our final finishing stone is equivalent of about 25,000 grit sandpaper. That edge, it's just like a piece of paper. People don't realize, but human hair is the same coarseness as copper wire of the same thickness. Imagine a straight razor is shaving through little braided copper wire. It tears that edge apart. What usually happens is it doesn't get dulled, it gets out of alignment. So imagine a nice edge like this, and when you're done shaving with it, it looks like this, all bent up and wackety. Using that strop makes it aligned again. So just like this edge of the paper, this edge is still sharp. If I ran my finger along this edge of the paper, I get a paper cut. But if I go like that, is it still sharp? Yes, it's still sharp. It's just not all together. So a strop is what aligns your blade, and that is what makes it more comfortable to use. If it's not stropped, it will shave. It's just going to be extremely uncomfortable because you're not really using it efficiently.
So at what point, I guess, so a strop is realigning those little tiny teeth. At what point do those teeth, I guess, get so damaged or so out of line or whatever? At what point do you know you need to actually have the razor professionally honed as opposed to just giving it a nice 60 strokes on your strop?
That's a great question, and it's like one of those things. It's like saying, at what point are your shoes needing to be thrown away? How much wear and tear will your shoes take before you're just like, you know what, my shoes are just shot? And it's really no different than a pair of shoes. Can you still wear a pair of shoes that are beat up? Yeah, you can. Are they comfortable? Does it make it, does it get you through your day? Probably not. So a razor, I mean, you can shave with a knife. If you really wanted to, you could pull out any pocket knife and shave with it. It's not going to be fun or comfortable. So I always tell people this hobby is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be enjoyable. When it's not shaving enjoyably and you can't fix it with stropping, that's when it's time, when it's not fun anymore.
it puts the FU in fun.
Yeah.
I would like to say two mistakes I've made already. Now, here's the thing. At the point of this recording, I am probably 4 weeks into shaving with a straight razor. And this is, as I said, like I'm only shaving my sideburns at this point and kind of like venturing into cheek territory if I'm, feeling it, I guess. And I've been I've been corresponding with Lynn Abrams throughout and just kind of reflecting on what I'm experiencing and what I might be doing wrong or right, whatever. And there's 2 mistakes I've been making already, and hopefully I'll remember them. I do remember the first one, which is not rolling on the blade edge itself. I've been rolling on the spine. I read that one in, the 1905 Shaving Made Easy book. I've made sure not to make that mistake. But the mistake I have been making is pressing too hard on the strop. Apparently, you're supposed to just absolutely no pressure whatsoever when you're stropping the blade. Very light strokes both ways. So that's one. The other one is, for some reason, I guess the most common mistake is having the blade almost perpendicular to your skin and just like scraping hair. I had like the opposite thing. I was so parallel to my skin, like it just was not cutting anything. It was just like running over the hairs.
Yeah.
And Lynn corrected that and said, hey, less than 30 degrees, between 20 and 30 degrees, try that. And I was scared because when I tried it at first, like it felt like it was sticking. But then when he, said, no, that's the right angle, boom, tried it. And then there it is, man, cutting the hair. And that only happened a few days ago. So I've only been shaving correctly for the last 4 days, maybe.
Wow. And you nailed it on the head that when you see some movies today, I've noticed, or whatever, people hold these straight razors. I've seen it like this. I have no idea where that comes from. That's how you slice yourself.
It just happened in Saving Mr. Banks. Colin Farrell shaved with his blade perpendicular to his face. Like, that's not how you do it. I know that much. And on his neck, no less. On his neck.
Well, we've actually provided razors for a couple different movies and stuff like that, and you have to actually intentionally dull them. They ask you to dull them, so we just take them to a belt sander and just run it across the belt sander. There's nothing left, so they can do whatever they want with it. It's just a butter knife.
You would think that they would consult somebody who actually knows how to use the razor, so that when a big star like Colin Farrell uses it on camera for billions of people to see, he looks intelligent in the way that he's doing it, especially in a period piece. He's supposed to be in the year like 1905 or something. I don't know. I'm rambling on the subject.
No, I hear you. But, speaking of movies, just a little trivia. If you guys saw the newest Bond movie, the James Bond movie, Skyfall, They did.
That's yours? Is that one of your razors?
No, I wish it was.
Oh.
Great scene.
We provided the 1970 accurate razor era for a really obscure movie called Apollo 18.
Apollo 18.
It was like this kind of weird horror movie where people got stuck on the moon. But
and we're shaving.
Yeah.
With period correct razors.
Yeah. Well, I got called from the prop department and they said we have to have the exact razor that would have been used in this year. Even the shaving cream, the brush. I had to provide completely era correct stuff for this movie. But anywho, in Skyfall, you see, it looks like she's shaving Daniel Craig. But he actually had already shaved before that take, I read. But she actually did take barbering lessons. She said she went through and took barbering lessons.
I was thinking about that scene today. I was wondering if she actually knew what she was doing.
She did.
I don't know why I was thinking about this, but I was.
She did, and they have you do in barbering class. They have you practice shaving on a balloon.
Oh, really?
I've heard this. Yeah, with a straight razor. Yeah, I've heard this.
That is the ultimate trick for a barber if you can lather up a balloon and shave it without popping it.
But what are you touching the blade to?
You put shaving cream on a balloon.
Yeah, no, I get that. But what's the blade actually touching?
The blade's touching the balloon. But remember, again, if my face is the balloon, if you're holding that razor like at a nice 20, 30 degree angle, it should have never cut. It should just take only the foam off.
Oh, and just glide right around the balloon.
If you do this, you're going to be popping that balloon. You do this, nothing happens. You got to have that nice angle right there.
I'm going to start doing birthday parties for kids, like the guy shaves balloons. Look, I made a dog, and now I'm going to shave it.
Matt, I'm curious. I'm a filmmaker. How are these productions finding you? Is it just they're finding your website, or are you putting yourself out there and available to productions, or how's that happening?
Everything. I get hundreds of people a day on our website, and we also have our sister website, RazorArchive.com, and that's just informational only. People come to me. I've had Gillette themselves come to me and say they need to borrow some razors for a photo shoot. That Gillette doesn't have any razors. Just to let you guys know out there in Radioland, they literally tossed all their old razors away. So they call up people like me when they want to borrow a razor for an old ad. They have to do some kind of throwback ad or retro kind of thing. They borrow stuff from me.
I'm sad to say that Volkswagen, at least Volkswagen of America, does not have an archive either. You would think that they would have some sort of a museum that just had every kind of old Volkswagen. They don't. Germany does. United States does not. We don't value history, I think, to the extent that other places in the world do, maybe. I'm not sure what that is, but it's pretty sad.
Yeah, it's really sad. Like you said, I think actually Mercedes is the only dealer or only manufacturer that still manufactures every part to their cars. I'm not sure if you guys knew that.
No, I didn't know that.
But yeah, most companies just, don't even recognize their past or respect it. I mean, I was told by a good friend of ours, we do a lot of sales for him. He's an older gentleman. He lives here in Phoenix. He's one of the world's largest collectors of razors. I actually consign a lot of the items you see on our store are from him that we're selling for him. He worked for Gillette from 1957 until 1961. He actually was one of the people that did test marketed the Lady Gillette up in Washington State. And because of work, it's really cool. But we were talking, and he told me that the original Gillette prototype was lost. I should say was first lost from like 1920 until 1960. It was just gone for 40 years. The original prototype Gillette razor is gone. And they said, guess where they found it?
In an attic in Ohio.
No, under a sink.
They found it in a cupboard in the Gillette headquarters boardroom. Just put away, like with the coffee pots and, silverware and whatever, chalkboards, just in some little drawer was the original prototype.
And that was honestly, I can see doing that. I mean, you're caught up in the moment. You just need the prototype for that, that moment in time. And when when you're off and running, what are you going to do with it? They weren't looking at it as a historical piece, maybe.
It's kind of like this guy right here.
You're not going to lose that, man.
So this razor is solid brass. It weighs about 5 or maybe even 8 pounds. It's heavy. This was another one of these weird things that a customer, I thought it was just a customer. He calls me up and he says he's got a larger than life toggle. And I'm like, all right. And it turns out his father worked for Gillette and they were just going to throw this away. And he grabbed it and it's been sitting in an attic in Boston for the last, 40 years. And I bought it from him and they said they only made one. And I wish it functioned, but it does not work.
Oh, it doesn't twist to open. That's amazing. If you listeners want to see this razor, go to RazorEmporium.com and click on the About Us page, and you'll see a big picture of Matt holding this.
A sledgehammer-sized golden razor.
Doesn't even have the rest of the numbers. It only has 1, 2, and 3. The rest of it's empty because it was only made for display inside of its case. I mean, you'd only see those numbers, just like this.
Yeah, that is great.
And so I actually have the matching case. I have a scale-sized case for this under my bed.
You use it as a suitcase.
Is there a date code on it?
There's not. It does say patent office on the bottom. I'm not sure if you guys can see that.
Yeah.
It's as if Paul Bunyan, used a DE razor to shave his face. It's about the correct size.
And matching blue blades.
Oh man, are they sharp?
It's actually made of wood. This whole thing's just a big wooden.
It's a wood. Wow, that is funny.
Cool. Matt, I have a question that I'm dying to ask you, and that's it seems to me that the service you provide, okay, let me preface by saying this. If you buy the cheap shoes that you mentioned earlier, once they wear out, they're gone. You throw them away. They go in the garbage. Or if they're Converse All-Stars, there's a recycle program for them, right? If you buy the more expensive shoes, say like Allen Edmonds, when they wear out, you can send them to Allen Edmonds, and they will resole them. They'll revive the leather. They'll put new laces on. They'll make them look like brand new shoes. It costs $100, but you can have the shoes remade. Something tells me that in the 40s and 50s and 60s, whatever, these razors weren't intended to be remade. You're what I suspect is that you're offering a service that is completely unique to history. Is that the case? Am I right?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, that not the latter part, which is very flattering, but more the former part, that a lot of companies have always offered some kind of restoration ability for their products. Unfortunately, with something like shaving was always meant to be disposable. My collection spans from 1904. I have one of the original razors all the way till 1976 when the first cartridge razor came out. And if you look throughout the entire collection, every year it gets cheaper. From 1904 to 1905, they found a way to make it cheaper. So they were always making it cheaper. Shaving with safety razors was always supposed to be disposable. I can't tell you how many customers call me up or email me and say, Matt, I threw those away. I threw a Fat Boy away. I threw a toggle away. I'm like, how could you throw a piece of metal in the garbage can?
I want names.
I have stories to tell you, but you're absolutely right, Ryan, that the revamp service and this reconditioning, I honestly started because I was just sad that I was selling beautiful razors that just needed a little bit of polishing and touch-up, but then I had these really ugly ones, and I was just like, man, I wish someone would want these ugly ones. So I was like, hey, what if I just polish them and get them plated? And sure enough, they look awesome, and I'm happy to provide the service. And that's one of the big differences between me and someone else, is that when we work on the razors, we're not just a plating shop or some, Joe Schmo. Like, I'm a collector. I've restored thousands of razors. When I fix a razor, it's fixed the right way. There's not a lot of people like me out there. There's a lot of people that just do plating services, but you're not working with someone who even knows what they're looking at.
Right. Well, speaking of that, I mean, how many lost gems have made their way through your shop? What's been the most valuable piece that you've seen come through there?
We've got a couple bottom dials come through, bottom dial Fat Boys. Those go for $1,500, $2,000 on eBay. I had, for straight razors, I had a very rare one of the double duck Grim Reaper razors come through with the Grim Reaper scales on it. We've had several red dots, several toggles. Yeah, I mean, we get them all. We get everything, and it's a variety pack. We do cases, we do everything, and I'm just now realizing how much services we could be doing. We're doing about 40 to 50 razors a week, which sounds like a lot, but honestly, I only have me and this other guy in here. My guy, my technician. He's been with me since February of last year. It's just the two of us, and we're doing it all. So I mean, we're not even slammed yet. I want to hire 5 more guys. I want to be doing 5 times the business, and it's not because I'm greedy and I want all this money or something. I just want to be able to provide all these services and get people shaving. And if the demand that we're trying to create in the wet shaving community is going to increase, there's going to need to be more people like me doing all this restoration to keep up with it.
For sure. Another thing I hear a lot about. I'm sorry, Ryan, did I cut you off?
No, my mind is just. This is so exciting. I mean, to hear this kind of stuff, the kind of work that you're doing. I am curious how many others are out there doing what you do. You did mention that nobody's doing it to the extent you are, but are there other guys doing restoration work like you, or?
There's maybe 1 or 2 other guys that are mostly working out of their house, which is there's nothing wrong with that, but they're also doing plating in their house that I've heard. And we don't. So let me just say, we don't do any plating on site. Plating is probably one of the most regulated, caustic, toxic, environmentally intense process that's still allowed to be in business. Let me just say that. If you do plating on site, you have to have your groundwater tested. You're under all sorts of environmental protection agencies. You're ordering in acids. It is. I've been to. I mean, the plating shops that we work with, I visit. I know them. it is not a small scale thing. So what we specialize is kind of like before you get a car painted, there's a lot of work that goes into painting a car that doesn't involve spraying it.
Right.
And that's what we do. We do all the body shop work. And then we send out for the actual plating, and it comes back. We reassemble things, lubricate them, paint things, get them looking pretty. Then they go back to a customer. How many guys like me? Maybe one or two others. I know there's a guy in England and there's one other guy in the US, but there's not a lot. And like I told you, the guys that are out there, a lot of them are not collectors. A lot of them, like I'm not going to name names, but there's some people that just run a plating shop and they receive razors and they just plate them and send them right back out. Like, that's really cool for cosmetics, but I like to know that it's been adjusted and the guard's been, has been adjusted and the twist to open has been adjusted and it's been lubricated and it's actually now functioning and not just plated.
You like to see the job done right.
That's right. I do it from start to beginning. I like doing everything in-house, and that's what we're trying to keep and bring more and more things into our house. I used to send out to a good friend of mine up in Utah to make scales for straight razors, and now I bought all the equipment and we're doing our own scales in-house now. I used to send out for the Hohenmeister to have it sharpened. We're doing that in-house now. I'm trying to build a business here that's going to scale as wet shaving goes mainstream. And it really is. If you guys aren't already seeing that, wet shaving is going mainstream. You got people like Procter & Gamble who have spent millions of dollars on their Art of Shaving line of stores. They're popping up in every mall. The only problem is they're kind of representing the idea, but not really the execution. They're not selling a line of premium straight razors. They only have one brand, Dovo. They're not doing safety razors outside of Mercur. There's so many more options. You got guys like Icon. You got guys like Above the Tie, Trader Ray. There are so many people making quality stuff, and Art of Shaving is only doing a small amount of it, but at least it's getting the idea out there. It's getting the kernel is being planted. Now you got the guy from Pawn Stars hawking, $20 Parker razors, but everyone in my entire family network is saying, "Have you seen Pawn Stars? Have you seen that they're selling this razor?" And it's going mainstream, and I'm trying to be one of the guys that's on the ground floor of that we can help provide all these services to the community. And we've been here since day one.
Ground zero. That being said, who's there? Is that Tiffany? Has she shown up?
It's Marissa. Marissa's taking a picture for Instagram.
Hi.
Oh, right on.
Hi, Marissa.
Nice.
Look at their mustache.
It's a great picture.
Why is my mustache like theirs?
I don't know. So this is Marissa Neal.
How you doing, Marissa?
Hey. Good. I'm good.
You're shaving now, eh? With the straight razor?
I am. Yeah. I'm actually really excited about it. I think I talk about it too much.
No, not at all. You're in the right place if you are.
I have 3 guy roommates, and they walked in the bathroom, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Shaving with a straight razor." I was really excited about it. So they just watched me. They were like really confused about how I was doing that.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I still haven't really figured out how to do it to my face. Never mind, which is, I have more surface to work with here. You want to break that down for us a little bit?
Sure. Well,
ladies, if you're listening, and I doubt you are, this is Marissa.
There's nothing different than shaving your face. Actually, I think it would be, I don't know, it's kind of easier, I say, than shaving your face because I don't really have that many curves. It's a leg. I mean, I have my knee to worry about. I have my ankles to worry about, but I just do everything that's easy first. I just take it nice and slow, and I just lift up the lather so I know where I'm going, and then I can go very gently and easily around my ankles and just pull your skin tight on your knee and just go slow. I mean,
treat it like the head of a diamond almost. Is that what we're saying? Like
basically, yeah.
Incrementally taking it off where you can. Now, what do you recommend women who are, do you recommend them to start with a double edge first and then maybe hop into the straight razor?
Yeah,
is that what you did,
there's
in
that
fact?
whole issue of angle and pressure that you really don't have to address when you're using a cartridge.
Pressure.
But yeah, the angle and pressure of using a double edged or even a single edged razor really sets you up quite nicely. Yeah, so you can feel the hair getting cut, and then with the straight razor, all you have to do is just match that same friction that you can feel it with the angle and pressure, and it's the same on your legs. I mean, it's nice and easy, but always start with a double edge or a single edge.
Right. And what was your evolution? I mean, were you using a single edge too?
I was using, I started with a 67 Lady Gillette.
I have one right over here, actually. I have 4 of them.
Yeah, mine's pink, but a Lady Gillette that Matt gave me, and then I was given a Fat Boy that was not aesthetically pleasing, and I was using a Fat Boy for a little while.
Wow.
I really enjoyed, but then I decided after he gave me a straight razor that I should really just go for it, and it's worked out. I like it. It's a really great shave too. So
very nice. Now, are you using a pre-shave oil before you're lathering up on top of this, or just lathering up and going to it?
I'm a huge fan of coconut oil. I use cold pressed organic coconut oil sort of as my pre-shave oil. And then I use Pirasso Sensitive in a tub, and that works really well. I really like the lather from that. Kind of mixing with the coconut, it leaves like a really smooth, like moisturized feeling on my legs afterwards.
Yeah, no doubt. Wow. And then you do you do like a balm afterwards? Like a shaving balm or a moisturizer afterwards?
I mean, I find that I don't really need it with the coconut oil.
Right.
But if I do, then I'll use a lotion, or I don't actually use anything from Pirasso except the tub. But I'm into experimentation. We actually have a local here in Phoenix, Arizona that's been working on his own soap. And he gave us a little prototype, and Matt's going to send a little bit of that my way. But he said it was a really good shave. It left a really nice feeling afterwards. So
nice. I'll have to send you one of my soaps too.
Yeah, I would love that. Thank you.
No problem, Marissa.
So, Doug, you have lady scents in the works, or
I've been toying around with a scent for women. They're also buying my mustache wax right now, using it on their eyelashes and their eyebrows. So I'm thinking of scenting that as well, because I'm sure Bay Rum is
mustache wax on eyelashes and eyebrows.
They're using that right now, so there is a demand. So, but yeah, no, the soaps as well. A lot of girls are using the lime as of yet, but I mean, I could probably do a better job. So no, it's on my radar. I just haven't gotten to it yet. So Marissa, you're getting a lime. Or a lavender cedar.
I'm actually really glad that Marissa stepped in. Not that I'm trying to hijack what you were just saying, Doug, but another one of my passions, and it's because of my wife Tiffany. I really want to lead the charge with lady shaving. I think it is a complete non-subject on most of the boards, and I think that women are just as interested in the benefits and the fun of vintage shaving, and I just don't think they have enough information, and I don't know if they're necessarily as risk adverse as some guys to just want to try picking up a few razors and giving it a shot. I think they don't really know a lot about it, and there's not a lot of information out there. So that's another one of our big pushes in 2014 is to be promoting lady shaving, and Tiffany and Marissa are both doing that. We've now done 3 videos for lady shaving, and you can see those on our YouTube channel, and there are more to come. In fact, Marissa will probably be leading the way with straight razor shaving, since we've already done 2 videos with Tiffany doing safety razor shaving. But like Marissa said, it's just some of these common things, and I think women really want to hear it from another woman's point of view and not just read the same boards and the same things that the guys are reading. I think they need to be communicated to a little bit differently and explain the benefits, and I think they'd be primed and ready to help make the switch. And then the most exciting thing that comes from all of this is the enjoyment of the hobby.
I agree.
That you can share that, and it sounds like Ryan is sharing that with his girlfriend. But sharing the hobby with...
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Doug.
Doug's girlfriend.
Doug. When you get to... I mean, I don't want to, get whatever too... preachy here, whatever, but it's a lot of fun if you're whipping up a lather for your face and you can just literally hand your brush over to your wife and then she just goes to town on her legs. It's actually kind of
tandem.
fun.
We're talking. I haven't done that yet.
That's commitment right there. That is committed.
And I mean, yeah, it's a lot of, and then here's the best thing, guys. Ready? That's all cheesy. Here's the real thing.
Yeah.
Ready? She's not going to care if you want to buy more stuff.
No, it's true. I have to hide certain soaps from her. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, she won't be asking, like, what's this one? Rather, they just want to try it. They're like, ooh, you just got this in. Can I try it?
They say, we just got this in. Yeah. That's when you know they're hooked. And then you watch them going through the same thing you went through when you initially got involved in the whole wet shaving scene. They start collecting the razors. They start getting real, it's secretive. They're not, showing you all their purchases. Yeah, I'm almost a little apprehensive about, turning her onto it completely, but I've been watching it happen, and I'm a little concerned.
I think we need to start a new phrase, and let's document it right
let's
here.
get the word out.
What 1/3/2014, right? We're gonna start saying the couples that shave together stay together.
You got that, folks? The couples that shave together stay together. We can do better than that. How about the couples that shave together rave together?
The couples that shave together remain together. I don't know. You have the long A. Remain. Shave. I don't know.
Couples that shave together own a cave together. Yeah, we'll work on that one. We'll get the next episode though. We'll definitely have it coined and ready.
There you go.
Excellent. Well, one more tip I'm looking for the noobs. A really quick one. They've just bought a vintage razor on eBay. They bought it for $7, $8. It's not looking too good, but there's hope there. You know, underneath all that dirt and grime and soap scum, there's something of value there. Do you have any like newbie polishing tips?
All right, ready? Here it goes. You can do an absolutely free tune-up to your razor at home. Put it in the dishwasher. I can't tell you how much crap will come off a razor if it just needs a lot of hot water, soap, and steam. It'll be sanitized, it'll be cleaned, and once you get it out, if you want to hit it with a little bit of metal polish, you're probably looking at a razor that's now looks amazing compared to when you got it, and it really cost you nothing.
I don't have a dishwasher.
Well, good old-fashioned soap, water, and a toothbrush. We just did a video on this. Guys, I know that I have a service with the revamp, but honestly, I would prefer if people really just learned how to do stuff and they wanted to clean it up themselves like I did years ago, and they try to save the razor before sending it in to me. I get razors that look beautiful, and I'm like, I'll do it for the customer, but, our service was really designed for those ugly razors. I would rather people try to fix, the small cosmetic things, the dirt, the grime at home, and turn to me as kind of an option of last resort. I'm probably shooting myself in the foot business-wise, but I love when people use vintage items and they haven't been replated. And I would want to do more of that. In fact, we have a new service called our tune-up service, and it's just that. It's just cleaning and alignment and polishing, but no plating. And I hope I do more tune-ups than I do revamps because I love the idea of keeping things authentic. And as much as I love the plating, there's nothing like the original finish. And it's like if you had a 1965 Mustang and you had that original paint, it's like, wow, look
Survivors.
at that.
Or how about a 1967 Volkswagen?
Every episode, it always goes back to this guy's Volkswagen.
Well, it's funny because there are so many similar concepts.
Yeah.
There are.
The saying is it's only original once.
Yep.
And in the world of Volks, you'd much rather see a car that's in original condition than, lowered or chopped or repainted or whatever.
One of my good friends, his name is Peter Cordes, and he owns and operates Royal Shave.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are familiar with Royal Shave?
Yep, they're selling some of their offshoot company, The Stash, is selling some of my products.
Yeah, Peter's a good friend of ours. I go out and visit him because he's over in California. It's just a 6 or 7 hour drive. I go to visit him a few times a year. We grab a couple beers. To your point, Ryan, Peter is really into cars. Peter actually has in his workshop in the very back, he has a few old cars that he himself works on and restores, and it's kind of like the same thing. We said there's a commonality with healthcare and with shaving. Well, there's also the same thing. I get guys like Peter that are all into the vintage cars, and they're into vintage razors as well. And he's got one of those old BMWs that are like the Urkel-mobile from Family Matters.
Sure, yeah, it opens in the front, 3-wheeled or whatever.
He's got one of those in his back of his workshop. So if you ever go there and if you're lucky enough to see the back, it's got a little BMW back there.
Something else. Man, you should just tie it all together and get like a vintage Volkswagen ambulance and do house calls, Matt.
I could call myself the Razor Doctor.
Dr. Razor. Yeah.
Wow.
I blow minds. What can I say? You can take that and run with it. One more thing, though, just to go back to the cleaning. What I do, Matt, and correct me if I'm doing this wrong immediately, but I'm a scrubbing bubbles type of guy. When it comes in, I spray the vintage razor with the scrubbing bubbles and let that work on it for about a half an hour. Then I hit it with the brush and hot water, and pretty much that. Is that bad, scrubbing bubbles?
No, scrubbing bubbles is good. It's probably the harshest chemical that I would say you would want to use. It's at the outer end of the bell curve of what I would say is good stuff to use. We actually just did a video on this too. I got people every day who call me and say, "Oh my gosh, I just used some Brasso
yeah. I've done that
to clean my razor. And now there's nothing but the brass or the copper left. There's no more gold or nickel." And I'm like, well, yeah, you used like the strongest stuff that's allowed to be sold in the stores to clean something, that's very delicate. I mean, that'd be like me taking a power washer out to that old 1967 Volkswagen and, just power washing the paint off. And you're like, why is the paint gone? Well, you used a power washer. So I always tell people that common household things like scrubbing bubbles are great. Just avoid some of the more caustic ones, the ones that use silica as an active ingredient. Silica is like liquid sandpaper, so it'll just be very harsh. Try to use more stuff that are detergent based or like CLR, something that helps to remove calcium, lime, and rust, stuff like that. But just really watch the active ingredients, and if the active ingredient is silica, just avoid it.
Are there any brands that you recommend?
My favorite metal polish, and I have no endorsement whatsoever. maybe someday I will. My favorite metal polish has always been and will remain Flitz.
Yeah. Brad Maggard recommended the same thing, I believe.
Yeah, Brad and I are good friends. He did some early work for us when Razor Emporium first started. I'm happy to see him kind of evolving into his own store now. But yeah, I like that Flitz is more of a progressive kind of thing, that you don't just, it doesn't get the results the first time. Sometimes you have to do light coatings of it, 2 or 3 times and kind of work up to get a nice luster out of your metal. Whereas some other things, it's just instantly gone.
Right. And just one last thing, still on this cleaning tip. Some of the Gillettes, Matt, the twist opens anyways, if we want to get into the mechanism, the twist open mechanism, a lot of times it's just those 2 holes I've seen. Are there any quick homemade tools that you can whip up on the fly?
Some of the fat boys are able to be taken apart, but to our earlier point, these things were meant to be disposable. They're not firearms. A lot of people who are into shaving also like guns and are used to taking apart their guns when they're done, shooting, and they think they're supposed to take apart their fat boy when they're done shaving, and they end up doing more damage than good. I actually just, not even joking, I won't, of course, name any names, but we just had a customer send, I think, 8 or 10. Was it how many? 9. He sent 9 British razors, beautiful razors, that he tried disassembling all of them for whatever reason, end up doing a lot of damage. And I think we salvaged most of them, but it's like he was trying to, clean them, and he's taking them apart and he's doing irreparable damage. And I'm like, I mean, this isn't a 9mm. You're not supposed to, field strip it when you're done.
He did this 9 times before he realized, I'm probably doing this wrong.
Yeah. It's all good.
No, that's not good.
It is what it is. We fixed it up, but it's one of those things I try to promote all the time. Guys, just open it up, clean it out, and close it. Disassembly is not always needed. In a very small pinch, I will answer your question, Douglas.
Finally.
Yeah, you can use a common little tool to open up a fat boy. You can use one of those little paper clasps, the little black clasp that you have to kind of pinch open. The smallest size of those, if you take off one of those little clasping arms and you rotate the little teeth of it 90 degrees, it'll actually make a perfect little key that'll open up a fat boy.
No kidding. I think I have one of those right around here now, actually.
Common office item you're referring to.
Yeah.
Black clasp.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at an old Gillette, a black tip Gillette, and it's stuck open, the silo doors. It's just jammed, and I can't do anything with it. I just need to get in there, and I'm running into that problem.
Do you mean to say that the doors are opening too high and the whole thing's coming apart?
The doors
what do you mean?
Jammed open, Matt. When I received it, it was fine. I washed it though, and I cleaned it. I soaked it in some soap and water, and then I let it dry. And when it dried, it was just stuck open.
You can try a common thing I tell people. That it's fairly safe is I use a lot of it here in the shop is liquid wrench.
Oh yeah,
liquid wrench you can put down inside of the push rod or down by the TTO and let it soak for 20-30 minutes and then see if it loosened anything up. It sounds like you may have some mineral deposits in there that may help, or CLR, the calcium, lime, and rust remover. If you soak in that overnight, that could help. Sometimes just a nice soak in mineral oil. People talk about vegetable oil, and I've actually. Marissa can attest to this. We've had a lot of customers recently asking me about lubrication, and they're like, should I use silicone? Should I use, WD-40? What should I use? And I always tell people, use mineral oil. That's all we use here at the store because, number one, it is food safe. You can drink mineral oil. Number 2, it is cheap. You can buy it for under $5 at any store. And number 3, it is very, very thick and very viscous. And when you put it onto an object like a razor, it'll tend to stay around. It's not going to be, like water and just, run everywhere. It's very thick. And lastly, mineral oil it doesn't leave any kind of residue, and it's just an all-around great lubricant for both safety razors and even straight razors. When I leave a straight razor for a few weeks, or if I have to send it back to a customer, we always put a coating of mineral oil on the blade to make sure that there's no micro rust that it forms along its shipping path.
Right. Well, this has been great, Matt.
I concur.
I would love to keep you on the horn all day, but I know you have places to go, people to see, and razors to revamp.
That's right. Anytime, guys. This has been a pleasure. Anytime you guys want me on, I would love to do a segment.
Where can people find more out about you, Matt, and the Razor Emporium? Where should they go?
RazorEmporium.com if you want to look at our store where you can purchase items. If you want information about your vintage Gillette, or any kind of old information about razors, check out RazorArchive.com.
And what's your YouTube channel address?
I don't even know. It's if you search anything on Razor Emporium on YouTube, I will come up. There's I think 30 or 40 videos on there. So
I'll put that in my show notes once I find it. Well, thank you again, Matt. It's been really cool having you on the show, and we will definitely get you back soon for your Dr. Shave tutorial.
Sounds great. Thanks everyone for listening, and thanks for checking us out. And happy shaving.
Great chatting with you, Matt.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Douglas.
Bye-bye.
A gondoliere. It's fun to say, isn't it? Gondoliere.
You have been listening to the Moustache and Blade Podcast. Thanks for listening, and please leave us a review on iTunes. Almost clean shaven, but hardly clean cut. Moustache and Blade.